See.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another NBA breakdown. Today, I've got Brian versus the books back with me, the prop guru. But honestly, when we sit here and talk NBA before we jump on these, he's got a ton of insight just into the games overall and what's happening with different teams in the league. So excited to be able to go over these games together. We got a big NBA slate today. And so we got 10 games. We're going to try to get through them all. We'll move through some quicker than others. Brian, how's it going today, man?
I'm all right. I guess I always say I'm actually gonna look presentable for one of these things. Like I've been doing some more video props and this and that, and I'm always just like, I'm like waking up, rolling out of bed, and I just look like kind of disheveled overall. But today I was like, you know what? I'll put my contacts in. I did that, so we're good.
Dude, although the glasses look nice, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, like I said, I am like Kevin Durant with my burners, so I kept telling people like, I'm like the Clark Kent of sports betting, but like it was all my own accounts.
And today it's no glasses, so Superman's here.
Yeah,
Dude, you got to tell the people about your jersey today too. I thought that was a pretty good reason to be wearing what you're wearing.
Yeah, because I honestly, it's funny that like I feel like everybody and their mother last night was on Joel Embiid's over in points, and it's just funny that I tweeted it out and I got like the most hate I've ever gotten a prop ever, like, which is just funny because it's like one of those things where I was telling people like I was 6-0 in that run with him, like I was gonna eat the L, but everyone was kind of making fun of it. So this is my Allen Iverson jersey from it's a Georgetown jersey. So I have 3 Allen Iverson jerseys, but this is my favorite one. I got this one for Christmas, so to kind of like steer into the joke a little bit, Allen Iverson holds his record for now.
I love it, man. That's bringing your A game, man. Wearing a jersey in honor of that. So
yeah, I mean, it's a thing. You just gotta stare into it sometimes, and it was a fun time. I actually don't mind sometimes when I lose a prop that I know is popular because I just know everyone else is also losing. So it's like, you got right. misery loves
we
company.
all lose together. Yeah. Yep, totally. Well, let's jump into these games since we got a bunch to get through. The first one is the Raptors are at the Bucks. Milwaukee is -7.5, and the total is 220.5. Toronto is on a back-to-back here, and this is Milwaukee's first game back from a 4-game road trip. So when you're looking at this game, what are you thinking, man?
Like right off the bat, like you mentioned the like comeback from road trip. That's like right away is like always a decent chance like trying to attack something with like unders or this or that just because it's like a letdown spot. But the first prop on the board, I think like, last time I was on here, I actually talked about it too. Is Pascal Siakam is the one I was looking at like right off the bat, where like his assist totals like in the last 10 games he's averaging like 6 assists a game, and he just keeps getting these lines that are 4.5. And that's one that like immediately stuck out to me because he's gone over 4.5 and 8 of his last 10.
Nice. So I don't really do props, but I'm starting to get more interested in it with you and other people. And one of the things I was looking is historically how the like guys from each team have done against this team, especially in just like the last year or two, not way back like 5 years ago. But what do you think?
A grain of salt with like that because I always do that too. Yeah, but like sometimes like people have different roles where it's like, oh, this guy only had 3 rebounds against him last time. I'm like, yeah, it was 3 years ago when he was a role. Like, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
What do you think about Siakam's points? Especially, I didn't see if Barnes is back in today. But what's he been doing points wise lately?
For points, like honestly, it's funny. Like I was looking at Siakam a lot. His points, he's hit his points over I think 7 of his last 10. But the other thing I was looking at is his points, assists, rebounds line. He's over. He's averaging 39 points, assists, rebounds in his last 10 games, and it's a 34.5 line. So like honestly, I haven't locked anything in any of the slates yet. But like I think last time I came on here, I came in here with nothing on the board and just like talking, I kind of like deciphered it. But that was what I was looking at in terms of just his usage has been really high. And if Barnes doesn't play, it's always a secret. I don't really know anything with the NBA. You have people listed in or out that like are never really truly in or out, but Siakam's usage the last few games has been crazy high.
I will say I just looked on RotoWire, and they do have Barnes listed as in now instead of game time decisions. So,
which is, I mean, that doesn't necessarily like. I'm kind of indifferent on that because even with Barnes in, I think Siakam's usage is still like I don't think he doesn't. Let me see. I have like the numbers here. I have like numbers for each game. I just never use them. I usually just kind of like, yeah, Scotty Barnes. The only thing is he does score more with like Barnes out. Like, so I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
That's a good one because he's only played 3 games this year without Barnes. So like,
Right.
3
It's a
games,
small sample.
not a small sample size. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, good. Well, that's some good stuff on that one. The one thing I would say, just looking at sides and totals for me here, I think this is actually a decent spot for Toronto, especially with a pretty big spread at 7.5. What you talked about with Milwaukee coming back home, and then one of the things I had looked at is how many points Toronto scores based on the pace of the other team, and I think this should be a game that's a little bit higher pace, and so I like Toronto to at least kind of keep it close in this game.
Yeah, and also the Bucks are like coming off, this insane like 40-point lead first.
Totally.
Like that last game is just I was watching it, I was blown away. Like even it was a TNT game against the Warriors, and even
Warriors,
I love the TNT crew, and they were just making a joke of it. Like they were just, I mean, you had a 39-point game at half. Like if you're looking for a letdown spot, you have one here in terms of just everyone still played their normal minutes. All the starters played 30 minutes. Like Giannis, Portis had 25. So it's either even like they didn't rest as much as I thought they would in that game. But yeah, so that could be potentially a good one there because the Raptors are playing really well.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking too. All right, let's move on to the next game here. The next one up is the Blazers at the Wizards. Washington is -7.5. The total is 215.5. And let's see. I don't think either of these is on a back-to-back, but I will say one thing that I would look at here is that Portland's been really bad away from home this year. Just pretty atrocious almost every game, and it hasn't even mattered who's been in too much or not. Simons will be back in tonight, but McCollum isn't playing yet. He should be back in their next game. So what are you looking at for? Oh, and Beal's still out as well. But what are you thinking on this game?
That's one where it's funny that I think so I'm in some group chats obviously with like different like sharper minds and everything like that, and every single day it's Wizards are playing. They have Kuzma. Like I have my Luka phase, and everyone has like Kyle Kuzma. It's funny.
Yeah.
People have asked me before, like, why are you hopping on Kyle Kuzma? He's printing money. And the only reason I'm like holding off from it is because I know the time I touch it is the time he'll score 3 points, and then everyone would hate me. So, but I mean, Kyle Kuzma's dropping. I think last game he had 19, but before that he's dropping like 25 a night. And like especially without Beal, that's when where you look at the defensive matchup against Portland. Like I don't want to say like it's an easy play, but it's one of those ones where if you look at the board and you see no Beal against like a bottom 3 defense, his shot volume should 100% be there.
Yeah, and one of the things just to add on to that I was looking at is Portland is actually allowing teams to shoot over 50% on average from the field away from home this year. In their last 5 away from home, they allowed 62.7, 55.3, 52.5, and then they did have like a 38.5. So they did have one that was less, but just on a regular basis, they're giving up really high field goal percentages, which at least to me, I think could open things up for Kuzma driving the lane and being able to get some easy looks here.
Yeah, I think it's definitely helpful for like Kuzma because as hot as he's been, I mean, he's one of those guys where I feel like, we talked about last time I was on, like people ban people. I don't really believe in banning anybody, but he was a guy where like he would take 20 shots, but he'd only make 3 of them. So like he's hot now. Like that's a kind of a thing of the past. But if you're talking about like a shooter that can get frustrated if he's not hitting anything, I feel like a softer defense is going to help him just overall, keep the streak he's on. I'm not sure if I'm taking that or not, but yeah, he's averaging 24.4 points a game in his last 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a good one.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, one other guy I'd want to ask you about. So Nasir Little, it seems like his usage has been going up pretty consistently here, pretty aggressive player. His shooting can be hit or miss, but do you have any thoughts on Little in this game?
I like Little. So like I think Little last game he got his 1.5 threes was like even odds, and I think today it's -130 for his threes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which is like not bad odds. I mean, it's not the ideal matchup because like the Wizards, I feel like have like the overall people just have like the still like taste in their mouth from like years past. Like they're just an awful defensive team, which isn't really the case anymore in terms of like just being an awful team. But they do allow the second fewest threes. So it's one of those things where you're really good on the perimeter. But I think Little's hit 2 threes in 6 straight. So like that's a double-edged sword because at the same time you have a tough matchup, but 2 threes, I mean, that could happen on accident. Like I can hit 2 threes with like Kristaps Porzingis from like half court on 2K. So I mean, it could definitely be something there. I have to check what his. Do you know what his 3-point volume has been the last few games without Lillard? I haven't seen
how
many.
I can look it up here quick.
Yeah, because. Yeah, I mean, he took 10 last game. I mean, 10's a lot.
Yeah, 10, 6, 8, 4, 8 in the last 5.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely juice in a minus 130 line, but if you're telling me a guy needs to hit 2 threes in 10 attempts, I'll lose that bet 10 out of 10 times if knowing the volume there.
Right, totally. Okay, cool. So, hey, one other thing I'm going to just throw in terms of like the way this game might go overall is Washington has been scoring really well at home lately, and that includes their games without Beal. They've scored 112, 122, 111, 124, 119, and 110. So all 110 plus at home in their last 5 or last 6. So the total I think is not bad here, 218.5, or maybe even looking at Washington's team total if you're a little unsure of whether Portland is going to score well offensively or not. But Washington's definitely on a streak of putting up a lot of points at home. So, all right. Anything else on that one, man?
No, there wasn't really much I liked because like I feel like without Beal, we're all kind of on like the same props.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it consolidates things. All right, I know this next game's your favorite, so we definitely want to spend a lot of time here. We got the Pelicans at the Nets. Brooklyn is minus 6.5, and the total is all the way up at 230.5 now. What do you think on this one?
So this is one where like on the board, I'm gonna like have to break into it a little bit more, but it's a high total game. Like you could say, I think about 230. The only thing is, it's just a gross game. Like I don't know exactly where I want to attack on it because we mentioned before we went live. The Nets are kind of like I don't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole because you have like this Kyrie, you have the injuries, you have Steve Nash with rotations. Like Steve Nash is just so frustrated with his rotations that like you only can really comfortably touch the stars because they're the only ones to get constant minutes. But with Kyrie playing half the games, you get Harden and KD. I mean, with Kyrie playing half the games, and then you have like this rotating door of lineups where you rest KD for one game. Harden gets listed out for some weird injuries sometimes that are like kind of questionable. So it's just like they're a team I need to watch play. I need to watch like some more film on them. I need to like see the splits from home and away with like the new rosters where I don't feel comfortable like taking too many props on that roster without really getting a feel for like this new change they're in.
Right. I think that makes a ton of sense on the props that it's a tough spot to know what to do. Are there anything you would look at with the Pelicans or not? One reason I ask is that Brooklyn's been giving up a ton of points at home since Christmas in particular. Like they just gave up 130 to Oklahoma City, and it's been 100 or 110 or more in every game since Christmas at home.
Yeah. So like, the one there too is like, once again, Brooklyn's another team that's actually really good defensively. We covered it last time. Like the thing that's important with them is defensive efficiency is different than like the defense in my book. Because you have teams that play with like, top 3, top 5 defensive efficiency. The Nets are one of those teams. They're like a top 5 efficiency team, but they're so high in pace that like you can sometimes still take overs against them because what they excel at in like defense, they almost make up for it in terms of just like pace. Because like if you allow 1 point per possession, but you give up 103 possessions, like that's still gonna rack up stats. So Jonas Valanciunas is one where I was looking at his over in points. I'm not sure if I'm going to take it. He's been doing well recently. He murdered the Clippers like he always does. But the Nets overall are like they're not weak in the paint. They don't have a lot of size, but like they just play like solid defense. But Jonas Valanciunas is just one of those guys too, where you talk about like offensive glass, or you talk about like chances down low. Like no matter how well you can play defense, you can't teach size. So like he is a guy that just like such a big presence in the paint that like he might be able to do something. But that would be the only one I'm looking at was anything with him.
Okay. Yeah, so in terms of this is a game that I'll probably stay away from too in terms of like a side or total. But one interesting thing that I did find is that in the last 14 games, when the Pelicans shoot 35% or better from 3-point range, they're 7-1 and they score 112.5 points a game. When they shoot under 35%, they're 1-5 and score 106.2. So that's like a real dividing line right on that 35% 3-point shooting percentage. Brooklyn allows 33.5% at home, so just under, but they've allowed over 35% in 5 straight games now and 8 out of 10. So in the nearer term, they've actually been allowing quite a bit higher percentage from behind three. So this feels like a good spot for the Nets to me overall. But I think like that's a number that's keeping me off of this game, because I think if the Pelicans can come in and shoot decent from 3-point range, they could put up some points here against Brooklyn again.
Yeah, this is like I said, like, and I actually, funnily enough, I had someone like mention me, they like added me on Twitter, and they were like, "What's your best over under and props or sides for like each game?" And I respond, and I was like, I don't have that. And
I don't do it.
I was like, I don't have that much volume on a given night, and I'm not like I'm not like a mind reader.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Oh, well, it'd be nice if you could like provide that for your followers." And I was like, "Dude, that's not how it works. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna. So you want me to just like break down each game? Like sometimes I don't find value in it, and this is what I just like I didn't see much value in."
Yep, that's exactly right, man. That's something I've had to think about too. Like I get myself in bigger trouble the days where I just take too many bets. That sounds like I can understand like a recreational bettor just wants to have some action on every game.
Yeah,
but it's definitely not the way to win.
That's why like I get headaches when I like hear, because like people like don't. I feel like people hate me on Twitter sometimes because I'm like really vanilla, and like I really just like I'm like, these are my props. Like I like these 3, and they're like, oh, what else you got? Or like and sometimes like I don't know, but I see
because you get so much right, man. They just want you to give them more stuff that's right.
I like to pick 3 props, lose those 3 props, and then go 5-0 on the ones that didn't take. But I like that's how I like to do it. I like to always do good on the ones that don't take, and then the ones I post I like to miss on. That's how it works.
that's a good approach. I've been doing that recently too.
I like to keep track of my potential money earned. That's what it is. Yeah. I don't really make money. I just kind of think about making money.
You think about how much you could be making.
No,
right. Awesome. All right. Well, let's go on to the next game here. We got the Knicks at the Hawks. Atlanta is -2.5, and the total is 212.5. Atlanta finally had a good offensive game against Miami, even though they ended up losing. They had been pretty atrocious, especially I talked yesterday about how in 4 games without Capella, they hadn't scored over 100 points yet this season, but they did it yesterday. They broke out of that. But I do think that that's something to still pay attention to. Atlanta obviously is on a back-to-back, and they're 3-4 on back-to-backs this year. What are you thinking about this game?
So this is another game. This is funny. This is a game that's gross, but like it's like gross in a fun way for me. Like that's why like, so not to get too much into it, but the same thing. Like I took Miles Bridges under an assist, and it was like I took it under an assist like 3.5, and he had 3 at half, and like the entire fourth quarter he didn't have one, and like it was like the perfect Brian bet for me. Like everyone hated it, no one enjoyed it. Like, you know what I mean? But like it won. So it was like a metaphor for me. It's like this is one of those games where like it looks so gross and I love it. Like it just like the number 1 prop on the board in this one, which I'm leaning towards taking, especially because when I was looking into it, I was looking at Julius Randle's under in points. It was 19.5, and that was kind of like a wishy-wash like number for me. I didn't know if I loved it there, but it has moved to 20.5. So I'm looking at his under. I think I've covered it before like a million times about like how bad he is on local TV. So like his splits on primetime and local TV, like I mean, it's like an 8-point difference in terms of like, he's averaging like 25 points a game on primetime and like 17 like the actual games that matter but don't matter to him.
That's crazy.
Weirdly enough, like as bad as he is on local TV, he's also awful on the road. So this is like he's on the road here. He's under 20 points in, let me see, 8 of his last 10 road games. So he's averaging 15 points a game on the road in his last 10. So that's a 5 points difference in the line. He also, weirdly enough, I looked this into it. On 2 days rest this year, they've had 2 days rest in 7 games, and he's averaging 15.6 in those games. He's under 20 in 5 of the 7. So he's just not good. I don't know. like
Wow.
I don't like to use those kind of words for like NBA players because like I'm not that guy that's sitting on my couch that's like you suck, but like this guy, like if you watch him, like I don't know if this is a weird reference. Have you ever seen those like videos like Spice Adams where like he like just chucks up those threes and like hits like the back? Like that's what he
Yeah,
looks
totally. Yeah.
like watching him play, he pulls up from like the weirdest angles and just like throws up the worst shot. Like I'm surprised that like Tibbs, like in like as a coach, like doesn't just. I mean, he's pulled him out in the games in the past, but like, I mean, my dad watched a game with me once, and he's middle school coach. He's like he wouldn't be on the court, like he just does the weirdest things, and it's hilarious to me. But
Dude, so that brings up a question for me. Like, if you expect Randall to be bad in this situation, I love what you're bringing to the table there, man. I hadn't heard that stuff before.
yeah,
But does that get you more interested in like Fournier or Grimes or Burks or not?
there's like so it's funny that like people like I'm a weird dude, like, but I do find it's like interesting that like, there's like different angles you can play with props because sometimes like people are like, oh, I think he's gonna struggle. This might be a good point for his over. Sometimes you miss it. Like I took Middleton's under the other day because I thought Bobby Portis would have like a more impact on the game. Middleton like hooked me on it. I lost the bet because he hit like a last 3, and it was one of those things where I chose wrong because Bobby Portis went off and Giannis went off. So like they both hit their overs. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, if he struggles, these 2 guys will go off. They hit their overs, but then Middleton just happened to shoot like 5 for 6 from 3. Like he didn't have the shot.
Wow. Yeah. Like he shouldn't have had it.
Like I nailed like the lower volume, but he just shot like lights out, which is fine. I lost the bet.
Yeah, it happens.
I admit that. But like, so that's another thing. Like if he does struggle, like Alec Burks opens up. You have, I mean, I guess you have Bogdanovich too. Like I don't know. You have like so many guys like Alec Burks, Evan Fournier. Fournier seems to only play against the Celtics though, which is weird. Like that's another one. RJ Barrett has a 20.5 point line. I was looking at him after he just shot 30 last game, but that line's kind of high for me. Like I don't think one 30-point game is going to excuse how streaky of a shooter he is.
Right.
And the other thing with Randall to me, which is funny because like normally if someone's struggling, it opens. He might shoot 3 for 20, but like he'll still shoot. Like you know what I mean? Like so
yeah, right.
So like it could just end up being like a 88-point game for them if he keeps shooting and he's off. Like that's like so it's I don't know. We'll see. That's the game.
So that actually speaks to the last thing I was going to say about this game is relating to the total because the Knicks have actually been playing really good defense in terms of holding teams to really low points on the road. But they also really struggle to score away from home. And maybe some of that is what you're saying about Julius Randle. And hearing you talk about that makes me even more interested in the under here, because the thing that was keeping me off of it a little bit is Atlanta's been playing terrible defense and giving up a ton of points at home, like over 133 times in their last 6. Yeah. But the Knicks aren't probably the kind of team that's capable of coming in and scoring 130. And so I think with what you're saying and then the other numbers that I was looking at, the total's only 213.5, but I'm a little interested in the under on this game.
Yeah, and I think like I learned a while ago when like because I just hate Julius Randle, I guess is what I can say. It's like when I was like looking into these different trends with him and the Knicks as a whole, is I learned that like he's one of those guys and the Knicks are one of those teams where like you almost have to throw matchups out the window sometimes because like sometimes I even if I didn't take it, I'd be like, oh, the Knicks have a good chance here. This is a soft defense, and they don't really care sometimes. Like they'll still find a way to like be awful. So like it's a lower total at 212, but
yep. Well, I don't know if it's still there, but I did see 213.5 out there. So
yeah, I mean, and like I said, like Knicks play at like a snail's pace. So like that's another thing to keep in track too. Like they play slow, that it might be able to like, be one of those like grind it out, like, those classic like Eastern Conference, like, you see like the Sixers and the Celtics game sometimes, like the Sixers and Knicks sometimes. Like this could be like one of those like 103, like 99 type of like just slow, like boring games.
Yep. I think so too. And I will throw again, I'm going to watch if Capella's playing because, again, the fact that Atlanta scored under 100 4 times, and they didn't yesterday, but otherwise 4 times this season, like it just feels more likely to me that they move back that direction in this matchup.
I don't know if I'd ever like. I might take that personally. I like that under as well.
Yeah.
But, and if Capella's out, Julius Randle, like his rebounds is 9.5. That's another one that's like interesting. If Capella's out, just on pure length,
Right.
And like he doesn't really shoot well or do much, but like he can stand around and get rebounds. He's decent at that. My favorite trend though is Julius Randle is under his points total in 3 straight since flipping off the home crowd.
It's a lock, dude. That's a lock.
Since he told the entire city and state of New York City and he flipped them off, never scored 20. Like he's still holding that trend. Like
under 20 the rest of the season.
Yeah, like ever since he scored 2 points in a game. Like 2 games. He played 34 minutes and had 2 points.
Terrible.
I like to believe if I ran around for 34 minutes, I can hit a 3.
Just chucking? Oh, you totally could.
I think I can hit a 3.
Yep. All right. That's good on this crap game. Let's go on to the next one. We got the 76ers at the Heat. Miami is -2.5. Both of these teams are actually on a back-to-back. Obviously, Philadelphia traveling to Miami. Philadelphia is 1-3 against the spread on back-to-backs this year, and Miami is 4-2 against the spread on back-to-backs. So Miami has fared a little bit better in this situation. And they do have Jimmy Butler back now. Seems to be healthy and playing consistently again, which is nice to see. What are you thinking about this game?
Honestly, this game, I don't even have much. I'm like Philly guy, big Sixers guy, but like they actually were so late to getting the props out. I just checked. Props are listed now, but I think up until like 15 minutes before this call, I was looking and I didn't see like any props. Like,
oh, wow.
Like, I guess it's also because it's a back-to-back. So, back-to-backs, like, they like to see the lineup. But I think Jimmy Butler's back in.
Yeah.
Another one that's, like, another popular Twitter play. But what's Omer, like, Yesterson or whatever his name is?
Oh, yeah. The center.
His rebounds are 9.5 this game. And I'm pretty sure he's been grabbing, like, 20 rebounds in a quarter. I mean, he had 6 or 7 in the first quarter last night. Like, the Sixers, like, we have Drummond and Embiid, but, like, we weirdly don't rebound well at all. It's not, like, something that we do. So, honestly, like I said, I wasn't looking at this game much because there was no props. But right off the bat, 9.5, I don't care what the juice is. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I have my phone. That's pretty good. Like,
that's not bad. Yeah, that's a pretty green chart.
Like, props.cash is funny because, like, sometimes you see these lines and you're like, whoa, what is that? This should be a cover photo. Walla Betts is the guy I work with the covers. I might just text him right now because
you should, man. Yeah, he does some sweet cover art.
So. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm trying to get him to do my next birthday party. I want him to be there and like just take pictures of us. He's like, the way he does things is crazy, but like this might have to be the cover because there's not often you see that kind of 13 straight games.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, and here's a question too, like you being a Philly guy, is there a chance that Embiid sits at the last minute here after this run he's been on and now being on a back-to-back, or do you think they're going to stay off of that?
Honestly, like Joel Embiid gets a lot of hate for no reason, but like I don't think he might die if like trying to fight for a spot. He does not like sitting on games as much. Okay. Like he does get like load management, but in a back-to-back he could, but I feel like there would be more rumblings about it. Like, because like the fact that like there's nothing about it, he's going against Jimmy Butler, but he could only because I feel like with Tobias Harris, who's like Maxi's back, they are more full strength than usual. So like this could be a spot where he sees less minutes in a back-to-back or maybe not play, but I would have to see more later on rather than like banking on him, maybe like doing that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has been on a legendary run and he did play. I think he played 30 minutes last night. So he could. I mean, back-to-back. I have to, like, check exactly what his minutes look like in back-to-backs. But that's an interesting angle as well.
Yeah, that was just something I wondered about, even thinking about the sides on this. Right now the spread is really close. And so if Embiid sits, this feels like a Jimmy. Maybe I'm curious if you have anything on this, but it feels like maybe a Jimmy Butler game to me, like a little bit more paced down. Feels like the kind of game he thrives in.
Jimmy Butler loves to score 30, and games his team scores like 70 points. Like it makes like whenever they have like an ugly game, and it's like, oh wow, the Heat won 103 to like 100, whatever. It's like he always somehow has like 80% of their points.
Yeah.
People love narratives. There's that weird revenge narrative, coming
True.
back. I mean, he might have some ill feelings the way like Brett Brown handled that all, but yeah. So that's another angle. How did he look last night? See, like I haven't watched all of it, like all of the games from last night.
Yeah, I was out last night and didn't get to. I haven't watched any of Miami's game from last night.
I was just like crying watching the Sixers. Let me see. Butler, I mean, yeah, okay. 23 points on 13 shots. That's not bad. It's pretty solid. That's actually crazy good. But yeah, so he could be one. Another thing to look at too is I almost put it last night, realizing I missed my chance. When I saw Butler was in, I was going to take Kyle Lowry's under an assist. He had 8. His line was 9.5. So that's another one where if he's still out, I mean, if it's still that high, I would look at his under as well. Like Sixers, aren't great necessarily against like assist numbers, but in a slower paced game, let me see what's his line. See, damn, 7.5. I knew I should have played it because I literally what I said last night to myself is I was like, I was like, this might be the only chance I get a 9.5 line with Butler back. So like now that Butler's back, I don't think you're gonna be able to like define value in that. That's all right. We're good. Yeah. I will say I'm telling this right now. I'm taking what's it? Justin? What's his name?
Yurtseven. I think it's Yurtseven.
Yurtseven, I think it's Yurtseven, right?
I think so. Yeah.
He's another one that everyone loves in the community, and like I haven't taken it yet because I know I'm gonna ruin it. So I think today I'm gonna put it in right now. I'm taking it on DraftKings. So if anyone's watching it, I'm putting a unit on it. I mean, if I ruin him, that's fine. But yeah, his last back-to-back game, he had 17 boards.
Wow. That's awesome.
He was out today. That just came in.
Yeah, I saw that. I did see the highlight of that dunk where he landed on his back. Did you see that?
That was what was weird is he didn't miss any of the game.
Yeah, and that was a brutal fall. I think I actually saw it because you tweeted it. Maybe.
Yeah, I did. I was scared because like that reminded me of like there's like weird. You see these injuries and it's just like he got like stuff on the rim and he just like oh man
it was brutal.
Like. And my friend was courtside, and he was like, "What happened?" Everyone just gasped. I'm getting food, and I was like, "Dude!" Like he made sure he strategically missed everything important in that game. Like
it's a good way to do it. That's a good way to do it.
I'm putting this in though. Holy! You're telling me 10 rebounds? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds good.
Yeah, Yurtseven, it's minus 115 on DraftKings. I don't see how you don't. I mean. If you have a prop that's hit 13 times in a row and like this guy's just getting so many rebound chances, I'll lose a unit easily on if he misses it.
Yeah, you like ride that until it doesn't work out. So.
Yeah.
Well, hey, last thing on this game before we move on, I will say I kind of like the Heat a little bit in this, especially if you can get money line, just because at home they've really been scoring the ball well lately, 110 or more in 12 out of 17. And Philly, I think, has played not quite as well on the road, and especially on this back-to-back and the unknowns about Embiid. I mean, not the strongest play of the whole day, but Philly's 0-3-1 against the spread in their last 4 at Miami, too. So it is a little bit of a streak here recently where Miami's done well against Philly in Miami. So I like that side a little bit in this game.
Yeah, and that's another one where you talk about the under. I mean, the under now is
slow game.
212.5. I could see it. These teams really grind it out, and back-to-backs, you can see slower pace.
Totally. All right, next game up, we got the Cavs and the Thunder. Cleveland's minus 4.5, and the total is 209.5. Cleveland is on a back-to-back today. They just played the Spurs yesterday. They're 4-3-1 on back-to-back, so, pretty decent. But also for Cleveland, this is the last game for them of a 6-game road trip, and it's their 6th game in 9 days. So they've been playing a ton of basketball. I think it is good that they have Isaac Okoro back, and then Rondo is a game time decision tonight, so he could be there as well. Both these teams play really slow. 95.92 pace for Cleveland and 96.77 for Oklahoma City. So we talk about these grinded out games, and both these teams can play pace up in the right matchups, but they tend to play slower most of the time. So any thoughts on this one?
Honestly, this is another one where it could be a big Jared Allen day. His numbers like have been kind of up and down recently with like points and rebounds, but he gets a great matchup. I'm probably not taking anything in this game just because I mean it's just a weird one in terms of just I've been riding Josh Giddey a lot because his assists, rebounds, even scoring has been up a lot. But it's just one of those games where like one side, like you mentioned, like Cleveland, like with like slower and like playing more defensively, it's a total of 208. They're just kind of polar opposite teams, if that makes sense. Like I don't really know how it will look on like in a matchup, if that makes sense. I haven't really like dug into it much because I just didn't love it. I was looking at Jared Allen, his 17.5 points, just solely based off size. But the one thing that always scares me about because Jared Allen was another trend that was hopping on for so long. The only thing that scares me with like him and his props sometimes, even though he's still like hitting on fairly consistency, is for every time he has a good matchup, like he's got the size, he's got like a good matchup in the paint. You have Evan Mobley who has the same good matchup. So that's kind of like with me is like there's like for a team that plays with such slow pace and scores like kind of like how they do, if you have a total of 208, you have Garland that can hop on for 30 or 20. Yep. You just have like they have a big three technically. Like it's like they're younger guys are coming along, like, but they're playing really good basketball. So it's just one of those things where with limited possessions, I always feel like awkward trying to pick which one. Like it's that I wasn't really going to touch much in this game.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of the same, man. I didn't have too much on this one either. One trend I found that's just interesting, this isn't making me make a bet on the game, but just something kind of fun to share, is Cleveland's 2-5 against the spread when their starters combined for 160 minutes the previous day, which they did yesterday. So just another thing to add to kind of that, maybe not the best spot for Cleveland, but I'll stay away from this game. So
yeah, that's the thing. I don't really like, this is just a weird game.
I
don't like
totally. All right, well, let's go on to the next one then. We got the Bulls at the Celtics. Boston is -5.5. The total is 216.5. So both of these teams are on back-to-backs, but they're both about 500 when they're on back-to-backs. One thing I do want to share before I toss it over to you on this game is obviously Levine went out and he could be injured pretty bad. And I'm actually wondering if the books are overreacting to him going out, because if it's only a 2-game sample, so it's super small and you got to take it with a grain of salt. But the Bulls have actually scored more points without him this year and given up a few more points. So they probably played a couple pace-up games. But even if you go back and look at 2021 numbers, which obviously it's a different team, so it's different.
Yeah.
But the offensive rating only dropped 2 points last year when Levine was out. And if anything, they have more offensive support now than they did last year. And the defensive rating stayed about the same. So this is one of those, again, where I think obviously the Bulls are a better team with Zach LaVine, but I'm not sure they just fall apart because he's out. And they're coming off such a terrible game yesterday that I feel like this could be a decent spot for them in Boston. But what do you think about this game?
You're asking the wrong guy because I hate Boston. Like
all right.
No, I don't use bias in anything, but yeah, like this is another game where I looked into it. I think you can maybe like try to find some spots to like of value, but it's another one where it's both teams that just like look different than like you're used to. So I know like Nikola like Vooch, I know his points are 18.5. He was a popular under yesterday. He went over, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, they got blown out yesterday.
Yeah, they got destroyed.
Yeah. So Vucevic, he still scored 19, but his 18.5 is a little tough. I was looking at his under there. Like, I don't know if I'll play it, but 18.5 is kind of high because I know Levine's out. But even with Levine out, like he saw 13 field goal attempts in 30 minutes, which is not. I mean, like Levine got hurt the first 3 minutes.
It was early. I don't know exactly when, but it was early.
I know it was in the first 3 minutes because it was in the props.cast like trends I wrote of his under, and I was like, what do I get for under 34 cashing with one stat? Like, I made a little joke about it, but yeah. So he got hurt early, and like Vucevic, like he didn't see the craziest shot volume.
Yeah.
Like 13 shots for him is like below average. I know like blowout, but he only averages 33 minutes a game. So that was one where you have RW. I love Robert Williams. Like that guy is a tank. I think he averages. I might be wrong. I think he averages like 32.5 blocks a game. Like I think it's something crazy like that. Like he just blocks every shot. But yeah, like he's such a big presence in the paint too.
Yeah.
If you're forcing Vucevic to beat you from 3, I like that. Like
yeah. I think that's good too. That's where you want him to be, honestly.
Yeah, like if you're taking him outside, like I think he's made 1-3 last game, 0-1. So yeah, I mean he's making a max 2 threes in the last like 5 games.
Yep.
A lot of zeros, a lot of ones. Yeah, like if they can force him out there and not let him get any easy buckets, I think 18.5 even without Levine, that's actually one I might look into. It's also an even number. That sounds bad, but for guys that score a lot in like 2s and he doesn't drift out too much from 3. I mean, he sees a lot of 17.5 lines. So getting that is just like, it just makes you feel safer. Like, because like same thing with like Robert Williams. His points line is 10.5, and it makes you kind of scared.
Right, because he gets 10 then, right?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, he can get to the line, but it's like he's not pulling up for threes to make it an odd number finish. You basically like might as well just take 12 plus, like.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Let me ask you about one other guy in this game. So, you think obviously usage goes up for DeRozan and goes up for Vucevic, but also maybe more defensive intensity gets focused on those guys. What about somebody like Kobe White, who's more of a secondary player?
Yeah, Kobe White, and that's another thing where we kind of mentioned it with the last game. Like you can attack props in so many different ways, or like you could go his over because some people hate unders, but like that's another one where if you are thinking that and you thinking other people are going to struggle, that's a guy that could open up. Because the Celtics, I mean, Kobe White's been scoring pretty well recently. I think he's averaging like 17 points a game his last 10. He's been in and out of the lineup a lot. Let me see real quick. Has he played any games this year without Levine?
I don't know if he did. I'd have to look at when Levine was out.
Okay, his last game without Levine, he scored 24.
Okay.
I mean, it was against Houston, so that doesn't really count, does it? I mean,
he's put up 13 or more in more than 10 games in a row now.
No, yeah, he's been doing really well. So that's another good angle too. So it's funny. This is why I like this stream, because I didn't really have any thoughts on this game at first, but like now, like talking into it, like I mean, okay, wow, interesting. Vucevic against Boston last game scored 11 without Levine, I think. Or was Levine in? Hold on. Because Levine hasn't missed many games.
No. He just went down yesterday, and he only missed 2 games the whole season up till now.
So in the 2 games without Levine, Vooch has 18 and 19. So good.
Not super high.
That is a good line, though. 18.5. Good job.
Yeah, that's probably how they got it, honestly.
Yeah, I know. But again, he scored 18. Here's the thing. Okay, I like this under actually. He scored 18 against Houston, which they play defense like a rock, and then the Lakers he scored 19, and they play defense like a slightly smaller rock. So a team like Boston could slow him down. I mean, you're talking about he barely hit that line, and he's 1 for 2 in it against teams that play with like amazing pace and no defense. Celtics actually know how to play some defense, and they have such a slow pace. So that's gonna be a tough number from the hit.
Yeah. Hey, one other thing, this is switching back to Kobe White, but one other thing I looked at here is, it depends on the volume, but he's had 9 and 8 3-point attempts in the last 2 games, obviously with Levine there. And then he had like a 3, but 4, 4, 5, 8, 7, 9. So like it wouldn't be shocking to see him have, 5+ 3-point attempts.
No, he might take
this game.
His line is 15.5. I like Kobe White too.
Okay. What's his 3-point line? Do you see that there?
Just 2.5.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if he's taken 5 or 6 plus 3-pointers, that's not, it's maybe not quite as good as the points.
It's one where they're going to make you think about it. Like they definitely accept this line knowing his potential. So like they're going to make you think twice about taking him. But yeah, he should have the volume. And that's what I tell people sometimes where I think I've had him before where like if you have like funnily enough, I took Randall on primetime, same thing. People are like, oh, I can't believe he missed. And I'm like, for a guy that has the volume, you can just you just have to eat the loss. Like if you run into a guy that shoots like 1 for 10 from 3, it's like, you know what, this happens. Like but the volume's there. You can't get super mad about it.
Yep. All right, awesome. Well, so one more thing that I just want to say relating, because I said I like the Bulls in this game in general at the beginning, and just want to share one other reason why. So it's a correlation between the Bulls rebounding and then how they do. So when they have 40 or more rebounds in a game, this is in the last 16. They're 9-0 and average 120.2 per game. When they're under 40, they're 1-5 and they average 104 points a game. So it's this massive split again, north or south of 40. And Boston allows 45.2 rebounds a game, 45.1 at home, and they've allowed 40 or more in 8 of their last 10 games. So I feel like this is a spot, and obviously like Robert Williams has been playing better, but I think it's a spot where if the Bulls can rebound well, like it correlates to this divide between that north or south of 40, where I think they could do relatively well here. So that was just the one other number that I thought was interesting on this.
Yeah. See, like this is why I think these streams are good for us, because you have all this like other information, and I'm just the guy that like points out players, and I'm like, this guy sucks. Like, so you have like
and you have tons of information about it.
Like you have the good information. I'm just the kind of guy that just I just tell people who's gonna hopefully score 2 points again.
You just get a bunch of bets right, which is a pretty good talent. So, all right, next game up is the Clippers at the Spurs. San Antonio is -2.5 here. The total is 217.5. The Spurs are on a back-to-back. They just played Cleveland. They are 4-4 on back-to-backs this year. And Derek White is still a game-time decision with COVID protocols. What do you think about this one?
Quick question: are you like me? Do you still like write down things? Like,
oh yeah, dude.
Oh,
here's
nice, dude. Okay, yeah.
Here's everything's in a notebook.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just making sure. Like it's funny because I still have all this, and like I have all this like Excel sheets and models and like all those like fancy stuff, and I'm still like scribbling on like a notepad. Like it's funny.
I'm the same way, man. I look at all those spreadsheets when I'm doing my research, but I write it in my notepad.
Yeah, I have to write it. It's not like, and I don't know. That's just me. All right, so this game, another game where there's so much injuries, and it's like a back-to-back for the Spurs. So there's no props really up. I mean, if you go on FanDuel, in my phone, like you got like a plethora of props to choose from here. You have 2.
2, yep.
But one of the ones too is let me see. They moved it. Yeah, all right, that's stupid. I always love when I see props move, because like now that I'm writing like the trends for the props.cash, I have to make sure that like when I publish it that like the lines are still accurate. And there's times where I'm writing it and I just check and I'm like, well, all right, that moved. It's hard to get 5 props sometimes like down pat before one of them moves.
For sure.
But yeah, hopefully if it moves, like I was gonna Reggie Jackson. I kind of called him out last game. I didn't take it. I just like kind of called him out for like his assists and his rebound numbers. Funnily enough, his rebound prop is 3.5, which is such a low line. I people hate those low lines, so like hopefully I get better odds if I decide to take it. But
you're talking about the under on that?
Yeah, on the under, like only because in his like without Paul George, he's actually like rebounding less. The only thing that scares me is that the Spurs don't know how to rebound at all. But at the same time, I think it might be a better like chance for like you have Zubac, you have like Batum back. I think the Spurs are so bad at rebounding that like they might get dispersed elsewhere. But yeah, he had 6 rebounds last game, right, against the Pelicans, which kind of surprised me. But overall in the year, he's under his rebounds like 3.5. He's under that in like I think 62% of the games. But without Paul George, it weirdly drops. Like without Paul George, he's under in 71% of the games.
Okay.
And funnily enough, in games like the last time he had an outlier game where he had 8 rebounds, he followed it with a 1 rebound game. So like that's the other thing where it's like he grabbed 6 and like maybe looked like an idiot, even though he didn't take it. Still, just I take it personally, but like in these games where he does go way over his line, like 3.5. So like his last game he had 8. He followed it with a 1 rebound game. Last time he had 5, so he went 2 over it. He followed it with a 2 rebound game, and then he went last time he got 6. Like before that, I'm just like gonna keep dating back.
Yeah,
he followed it with 3. Last time he went over with 4. It was 2. So like the last 5 times,
wow,
the last 5 times he's hit this line, he's followed it with like 2, 3, and then one time it was 1. It was 3. So like that's a cool trend to me. Where like obviously the trend itself, 70% without Paul George is cool, but looking at that he blew it out of the water last game, it might be a chance where he has a little bit less. At least that's like the thing that's been happening.
yeah, I like that, man. That's a great trend, and especially going back 5 times in a row, that's significant. I think
Well, 4 times. This is the 5th. So like,
oh, this is the 5th. Okay.
Yeah. So sorry. You guys can come at me later for that. But yeah, and like that's why like his assist rebounds line is 7.5. So that was one where I was like, he's actually hit. He has a better hit rate on the under for his assists and his rebounds than he does the combo. But I was debating looking at the combo solely for the fact that like this sounds like stupid and this is like less research based. This is more. I feel like he might have a harder time going like 4 and 4 or like 5 and 2. Than like picking one and getting it wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he's under his assists. Like he has 4 or less assists in 9 straight games.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Dang.
so his assist line that I was gonna play was 4.5. It was minus 135, but I was gonna take the juice because he has had under 9 and he's averaging like less. I think it's 6.8 assist chances per game in those 9 games.
Wow.
So like the Miles Bridges one, if you don't have a lot of chances, it's hard to get a lot of assists. So that's one like too for all those people that like to do parlays. If you can like do an all under 4.5 assists, you can always try to attach that to something. This is the props.cash like thing here. So 4.5 assists is just not really happening for him. So the Spurs actually allow like middle of the pack in assists. So I'm not sure what I'm playing there, but he was the one that kind of stood out with either the rebounds or assists. And it's one where, like I mentioned in my video yesterday, for unders, especially like low unders, like he has a 3.5 line for assists and rebounds. If you wait it out, you might see those 4.5, or like you might get better odds on 3.5, just because people hate taking like unders that low. So if you wait that out, it could get better, or like it could get added to enough parlays with the over because people are like, whatever. If there's enough money that comes in on the overs, it might be a good chance to like look at those unders. So that's what I'm going to monitor there.
Sweet, man. That sounds good to me.
That's a lot.
That's a strong one. So this game, I'm going to sum up the research I did on this game by saying I don't like anything here. This is just like all over the place.
I agree.
Crash kind of game. So yeah. I don't like anything other than the prop.
That was the only thing I looked at. The only other thing is it wasn't up earlier, but I think it might be up now. Oh, okay, 8.5. So DeJounte Murray, 8.5 rebounds. I mean, you talk about a team that can't rebound. You got the Clippers. So that's another one where he's crashing the boards. So that's the only 2 is there because he has 9 rebounds in 8 of his last 10. Yeah. Or no, I'm gonna assist still. He has 9 or more in 6 of his last 10.
Okay.
So 6 of his last 10, and he has 12 rebounds in both games against the Clippers.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah. So that's the only other one. He's averaging 8.8 in games and back-to-backs because they played last night, right? Yeah.
They did. Yeah, they played Cleveland.
So I mean, he's a young, like agile, like actual guy where I'm not too worried about him like being aggressive on the glass in a back-to-back. So that's what I'll be looking at too. I wonder what his assist rebounds is. So like that's the 2 I was looking at. Rebound props are kind of polar. I think people hate them, but those are good trends there.
I like props that win, honestly. So rebounds or whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, and his rebounds assist is 7.5, but it's plus money, and he's averaging 19 assists / rebounds in his last 10.
Man, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, so that's a good one to look at, and he's at 23 averaging 23 points. I mean, 23 assists / rebounds against the Clippers this year.
Yeah, man, those are good. That feels strong, man.
Yeah,
So,
so that I want to look into that. He's another
yeah.
really popular play too. Everyone loves playing him, but he
Well,
always
yeah, he's been awesome this year. So, I mean, it makes sense. So,
yeah.
all right, well, let's go. We got 2 games left, and we're doing pretty good. We're at 55 minutes. I thought it would take an hour, so we're gonna come close at least, right?
Yeah.
So, next game up is the Lakers at the Nuggets. Denver -4.5. The total is 224.5. The Lakers are on 2 days of rest here, and they're 3-4 against the spread on 2 days of rest. Recently, Denver has been allowing more points at home, which they didn't do early on in the year, but that's flipped a little bit for them. What are you thinking about this game?
This is actually my favorite game on the board. So
Sweet.
we might go for 3 hours today. No,
All right. We're going to do an hour just on this game.
everyone strap in. No. So this is another one. I want to keep showing like my phone with the props.cash like charts because I get paid per chart. Mention no, I'm kidding. They don't.
You're racking it up. You're like, I'm going to become a millionaire today, one way or another.
I mention them on here. They don't like care much about me.
No, I'm glad that you do, man. It's a great tool. So I'm glad you're sharing it.
I just like it because it makes my unders more appealing because you can see a lot of red and people hate unders. But like I've taken this twice, I think, or maybe just once. I've taken it twice, I think. But Jokic's under in threes has been basically like free money. If you want to see the chart there, like this is what I mean. Like, so he's actually under 1.5 threes, and it's now 11 of 12 games. So in 11
Wow.
of 12 games, I want to be honest, it is the worst prop. Don't take it if you don't like if you have like a weak heart. But like he's always at 1, so you always have like this sweat and this overall like nauseousness watching the games, especially because I took it last time I took it. He hit 1 in the first quarter, and then
Wow.
but like so like it's great. It's a prop that's hit in 11 of the last 12 games, and every single time it's -110 or better usually. Like it's -108 for the under. People love to take Jokic's overs, so he just keeps getting these like even lines. And this is one I'm probably gonna take. So I like Jokic a lot today, but I'm probably gonna take the under in threes solely because the Lakers play defense, like I said, like a rock, but they allow the 10th, like the 17th fewest threes, so middle of the pack, but they're like top 10 in 3-point percentage. And it comes down to a matter of this is like personal speculation, but for someone like Jokic, that's like I think he's like 9 feet tall. You would think again without Anthony Davis, like why bother pulling up from 40 times when you have so much advantage in the paint? So I just don't know if I see him living out in the 3-point line today.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and like you said, people don't like to take unders on Jokic. So I've never like looked at that prop before or anything, but just watching the games, I think there's also this feel of Jokic is it's kind of weird to see such a big guy hitting threes the way he does, and his shot is pretty smooth. And so I think it just feels like, oh, this guy can shoot threes, know. So it doesn't jive with like how it looks on the court, I guess.
So like here's the funny thing, like I think like his last 10 games, his attempts from 3 have been 6, 3, 5, 2, 4, 3, 6. So the 6 here was 4 games ago where he hit 3 and he was like hot. But like since that 6, he's shooting 3, 3, 2. So like you can kind of see it's trailing off to the point where I think he's realizing why am I, like kind of like he's not getting the hate for it. But it's kind of like Joel Embiid sometimes. Like he'll hang out by the 3-point line, and people are like, "Hey, you're 7 feet. What are you doing out there?"
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
But he's so much more valuable in the paint. Where I actually was looking at, like, I think he has got such an inside advantage that I'm happily losing because I don't see him taking 1 in 3. The only way he can take 1 in 3 is if he like hits the first one early and then just gets on a roll. And if that happens, like I tell people, if under ever misses badly for me, I always say, we took under 3.5. We lost at 4-20. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, if he can hit 7 or 2, we're still going to lose.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, but that's what I was looking at. Yeah. And like I said, like with the Lakers' paint presence and their pace and everything else, like he's more of a scorer. And he's more of a distributor in transition. So with the pace, like if you watch a lot of the film with the Nuggets, like in transition, he's looking to pass. He's not the guy that's going to try to hit a transition 3 often. Like that's not really his move. So I was looking at his rebounds and assists as well. So his assists is 7.5, and his rebounds are 13.5. So I actually like a lot on Jokic today, which is funny because I make fun of Jokic a lot because he just has a face of like a baby. I don't really know. It's weird. He's got like a big nose, but he's a good guy. He's a really talented player. But his rebounds are 13.5, and he's coming off an 8-rebound game. So for him, he's had 4 games this year where he has single digits. This is his 5th single-digit rebound game. In the 4 games following those single-digit games, he's averaging 16 boards.
Huh.
So he has 16, 11, 16, 21 following a single-digit rebound game. So coming off an 8-rebound game, I mean, you're getting 13.5 at minus 102, and he's averaging 14 rebounds a game. So you're getting his average following a really strong trend where he's coming off a single-digit game against the Lakers, and the Lakers allow the 3rd most rebounds in the league. Especially without size. I mean, I'd be shocked if he's not at least more aggressive on the board because I think he's had a 10-rebound game and an 8-rebound game last 2. So it just seems like he's one of those guys where to get back on track, this is the perfect chance for him just to have one of those monster games in the glass.
Yeah, I like that. One other one I'll ask you about, because honestly, I don't have much on the side in total here either. I think I would lean a little bit toward the over, but not at 224.5. I think if it was under 220, I would like that, but it got a little bit elevated here. And Denver and the Lakers both are super inconsistent teams. And so it's hard to line things in terms of a spread. But the other guy I want to ask you about, just because he's been a little hot lately, I think, is Malik Monk. And he's had higher usage. Any thoughts on him?
They're darling. Everyone loves him.
Yeah, well, he's been good lately. And honestly, the Lakers do need scoring help. And so I think the fact that he stepped up some has been big.
They got Westbrook to score for him,
or chuck shots up at least.
Yeah, he can hit the side of the backboard more than anybody else I've ever seen.
He absolutely can.
But believe me, Monk, I mean, besides his one game where he made 1 3 against Memphis, last 5 games he's hitting 4, 6, 7, 6 threes.
Wow.
I mean, the volume there, but he's also just good. He's just nailing these shots. The only thing about the Nuggets is that the Nuggets last year were a team I kind of attacked to find against good 3-point shooters because they kind of are really soft on the perimeter. But this year they did a complete 180, so they're allowing the fewest 3-point percentage. So 3-point percentage, I think 34%, I think, from 3.
33.8, yep. Okay. And you're right, it's the 7th lowest in the league.
Actually make me look bad. I said 34, but
I know, dude, you were so far off there. I can't believe it.
But yeah, so that's one where I don't mind the over. I like the over, but it's hard to not like the over. The guy's scoring. Prop that guy just tweeted Westbrook's under and points to his rebounds. So that means Monk's going off. I changed my whole thinking here.
Okay.
Because he's never wrong. So yeah, he's over his points in 7 of his last 10. The only thing that would worry me, like I said, is the matchup from 3.
Yeah.
But he can score in other ways, but he's just a guy where he's matchup proof. I think he's matchup proof in terms of just the volume and the way he's shooting threes. But it is interesting to note that the games he's going off from 3 were against the Kings, the Hawks, the Kings again.
Yeah.
Minnesota, and then I think it was Portland. He had a good game. So it's just I'm not discrediting him, and he's a cash cow. I feel like people think I'm just trying to be different, but I'm just not touching it just because he would have to get hot from 3, and the Nuggets are just a really good team of guarding the perimeter. And you mentioned they need scoring help. You have 2 guys. You have LeBron dropping 30 in 9 of his last 10 games, and you have Monk that's going hot. They have 2 guys to worry about. If Westbrook wants to take 20 shots, they're okay with that.
They'll let him, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's the only worry with that is that they're a good perimeter team. They play good on the closeout. So the volume should be there for Monk, but he might have some hands in his face for once rather than the Kings that kind of just chill and wait for offense. Yeah. More fun.
Man, actually, you talking through that, it actually makes me interested, even maybe watching live, but potentially in the Nuggets. I mean, we used to live in Colorado, and I'm a Nuggets fan in general, but this year they've been so up and down, so I haven't been on them much in terms of looking at betting their sides. But if they can shut down what Monk does best, and you're reduced to really just LeBron and then Westbrook chucking, I think that makes it potentially a better spot for the Nuggets if that's the way it plays out.
Yeah, and like I agree with you there. Yeah, and like I said, like it's just they play decent on defense. Like they're not like it's a high total and like the pace should be there, but yeah, it just I like this game a lot actually. I just think it's two very different teams that are coming together.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like especially because it's a fast-paced team that likes to work in transition with the Lakers, and the Nuggets are good at slowing down the pace. Like they have, I think, 98 and a half possessions a game, where like they're like the 10th slowest pace. I think like they're good at just like making things slow, which the Lakers are so run and gun that it could favor them in terms of like a side, especially with just how things. Was it -4? That's not bad. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
in the game. Yeah.
Dude, to your point too on the pace, I just looked this up and they have 9 straight games under 100 in pace, which 100 for the Nuggets would be pretty fast. And there's a couple that are 99, but like 4 of those games are under 93, a couple 97. So just to your point, like they do play with less pace than some other teams for sure.
Yeah, this game is awesome. Like honestly, I want to tweet something out to my people. Like this is the part I'm hoping people watch if they don't watch any of it. Like this game here. I don't know if you probably know JD on Twitter is a guy I talk to every day. Huge guy's hilarious, really good, better, smart, hit some crazy long shots. I've been talking to I'm probably actually gonna do a long shot parlay, which I never do.
Okay.
Maybe I can get a follower or two because people love long shots that never hit.
They do. Yeah, they do. I love doing them in UFC. I got one tonight that, dude, it's like $20 to win 166,000. So
if I have the guts later, I'll tweet this part here because I don't like a lot to like. I find a lot of Twitter is people like posting like plus 10,000 like parlays and then like retweeting it 9 times when a leg hits and then they still miss, but like the hype there. I'm just very like, hey, this is I'm taking the single, and they're like, all right, what are you pairing it with? And I'm like, you do whatever. Like, I want to win money. I don't want to lose it. But like, I'm actually gonna take $10. I'm not going crazy. It's plus like 28,000. It's like plus like it's almost like I think it's plus 2,800. So like 10 to win like almost $300. It's like plus 2,800. But I'm taking a parlay where I'm gonna do Jokic and LeBron to have a triple double.
Oh wow!
Like, and that's so against everything I believe in. Like, let me just say this: last time these two teams played, so last year, let me just say this. So I was talking to JD about this. Like, LeBron last year against the Nuggets has 27, 10, 10, and 22, 10, 9.
Wow!
So he's right there. And then last game they played, Jokic had 23, 16, 10. So like it happened last game, and it hasn't happened the last 2 games, but like. They had triple doubles,
but it's been super close.
LeBron had one and Jokic had one. It just didn't line up in the same game. So like with LeBron's usage right now, it's like a fun thing. I can spare $10. I mean, I just won't get coffee for.
That's what I was gonna say. Just don't get coffee twice, and you're good to go.
But like, and then the other thing is that this sounds weird. Jokic on FanDuel, DraftKings. I'm gonna take a flyer on this. I might just take him triple double for like $20, like a quarter unit, like $25. It's like plus 275 on DraftKings, and he hasn't had a triple double in like 4 or 5 games, which is like, for a normal person that's like such a weird statement. But like for someone like Jokic, I mean, him not having a triple double for I think it's 5 games. He hasn't had one in 4 of his 4 games. Yeah, 4 games he hasn't had a triple double, which is like that's not like a reason to take it, but it's just like. It kind of gives you that sense of like, oh, like law of averages for a guy that can get a triple double at any point. Plus 270 is like kind of like a fun bet.
Dude, well, and let me say in terms of matchup too, I think I love that bet too because the Lakers have been playing with no size lately, and they don't have any really good bigs on their team to begin with. I mean, are they going to throw Dwight Howard at Jokic? Like he should be able to do whatever he wants in this game, you know?
In 2010, Dwight Howard locked this guy up.
All right.
But like we're in 2000
years ago.
like
12 years ago.
Prime time like 2004, like the Superman Dwight Howard. He could have a field day in this matchup, but like I don't know, we're past that. He's on Yeah. So that's the thing. Like I don't take many like risk, but I was thinking about it. I liked his over 7.5 assists, and I like his over 13.5 rebounds, and he's averaging 8 assists a game last 5 games. So I'm probably gonna take like a flyer on triple double just
I
because
love it.
like, I don't really do it, but I mean betting can be fun too. Like people think I'm so like stout, but I think it can be fun as well. So that's one I was really looking at, and I might spend a total of $30 on a triple double for Jokic, and then like the YOLO triple double for both.
Yep. That's awesome. All right. Well, great stuff there, man. I'm excited about the Jokic triple double. That'll be a fun one just to watch for too.
Yeah,
So
we'll see. Like, I mean, I hope it happens. I mean, no, he's gonna have a triple single for the first time in his whole career.
Yeah, right. Everybody go take those unders.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get on to the last game of the day here. It's the Magic at the Mavericks. Dallas is minus 11.5, and the total is 207.5. Just a couple things for me to say on this game. Both these teams are on a back-to-back again. It makes me wonder if Luka will play. I mean, he definitely could. There's nothing that says he won't, but he gets rested sometimes too. I think in terms of these two teams, Dallas's defense has been filthy against bad offensive teams. And Orlando, though I think they're improving in some ways, they are a bad offensive team. With this total, if you look at the team totals, you're talking about Orlando's team total only around like 95.5 or something. So like that's unplayable, I think, even though I wouldn't be surprised to see them go under that. I don't trust the Mavericks either, and the Magic actually have been playing better. If you look back at their recent games, they're playing pretty decent on defense, and at times their offense is coming around a little bit. So this would just be pretty much a complete stay-away game for me. The only thing I could imagine even messing with here is with that big of a spread, believing that Orlando could keep it within 11 points because they've kept it close lately. Yeah. But other than that, man, this is just another rough game on this slate, I would say.
Honestly, we could just end the stream here. I don't like, I mean, there's no props out. You don't know. Luka might rest. He needs his rest. He played minutes. He went over yesterday for the first time. Like I mentioned it before.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I know. And I'm about it. Like he takes it personally, especially because I had a $300 bet and I used it 2 games ago for him to have like under 27, 6 assists and 6 rebounds. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then he had like a career low in assists. Like, so it was like the one time, like he had 5 assists, not career low, but like he did like, you know what I mean? So like, I think that officially made it a war between me. I was always cordial with him, but like now that he screwed me the one time and took us over my entire life, it's over. Like I'm done with it. But yeah, Kristaps Porzingis is doubtful. So he's cleared the protocols. He's doubtful. Luka went off last night with like 49 points as rebounds, but overall in the last 17 games, I believe. I would double check, but it's like 17 games without Kristaps. He's gone under his 25 points in I think 14 or 15 of them. Like last night was like this rare time. Like it was the second time this year he went over his numbers without Kristaps in the lineup. Wow. So like I said, like people like you can troll me, whatever, but that was funny. He went over and people were like, oh, I told you Luke was having a good game. And I was like, he's now over his points in 2 of 13.
Wow.
Without Kristaps. So I'm like, if I'm winning 11 out of 13 times, you can have the one he gets. Like, you can have it. Like, I'll take it. Yeah.
Well, and I will say, man, in terms of, I don't know what I know it's not out, it sounds like, for tonight, but on his point specifically, I will say Orlando truly has been playing good defense lately. Yeah, I mean, they are holding everybody under 110 points pretty much all the time. Yeah. So there's going to be less points to go around in this game.
And also, like, the thing with Orlando is, I think we talked about last game, I have a few teams I mark on my calendar in a way that, like, no matter what the spread is, I don't care because they always seem to, like stick around somehow. Like, the Rockets and Magic are, like, my go-to. Like, they always get, like, the highest spreads on the board, but then you'll check, and it's like, holy shit, the Rockets are up. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like they'll lose. They won't win. They don't win games.
For sure.
The Magic don't win games. They won last night, which is great. I don't know if you saw Terry Rozier hit that one weird 3.
I didn't see him,
No, like I saw like someone shared on Twitter, like someone like had like an alt live spread and they covered it because like with like 2 seconds left, Rozier just underhand chucked at the basket and drained it.
Nice. That's a great way to win a bet right there.
Live spread. I mean, it was at the buzzer. He just went like just looped it in.
Wow.
But yeah, like this is one where I mean, if Kristaps isn't playing, I might just like like on principle have to take Luka again. But in a back-to-back, they won pretty heavily last night, but he played 42 minutes. And even though the Magic have some injuries, but they have was it Anthony's back? Anthony's playing.
Suggs is back.
And like the thing with them is Luka. Like I'm surprised he went over his points yesterday at 27. He didn't hit a three. He didn't hit a three. He was 0 for 6. He couldn't get it going from three. And he's a streaky shooter. Like when he's hot, like I mean, I lose like for some of the bets lose unders as much. If he hits like 2 or 3 in a row, it can get messy because he can just keep going. But like when he's off, he's off. Like so coming up an 0 for 6 game, it could be a bounce back for him. But at the same time, it could just compile. And although like the Magic, like I said, we're missing some people, and like the numbers, like the raw numbers on the Magic in terms of like 3 points aren't necessarily great because they allow a lot of 3-pointers. But the one that they have is they have length, and I like looking behind like beyond the numbers. Like if you have length on a guy that's like 0 for 6 last night from 3, he might have trouble getting going if he has hands like in his way. Yeah, so like that's what I'll have to see. But if Kristaps is not in, if they inflate his line, I'll probably take the points like his under.
Yeah. No, I like it, man. I like it. One other thing I'll say on this game, and this is more anecdotal. I don't have the numbers in front of me to back it up, but it does feel like what happens with Orlando a lot of times too is they come out and they get down pretty significantly in the first quarter. Like they'll go down 10 points in the first quarter, and you're like, oh shit, they're going to lose by 40. But then they like fight their way back in, and it's like you're saying, you end up looking at the final score, and it's like, oh, they just lost by 6.
Yeah.
And so I think if you want to watch this game live too, if that happens and this spread goes from 11.5 to 17, 18, 19 and a half because they get down by 10, I think that's not a bad spot because Orlando has fought back a lot this year when that happens. So.
Yeah, like I said, like some teams just hang around or like they make it interesting. And I mean, look at like the Hornets last night. They were like never really like leading in that game either.
No, they weren't. It was crazy.
I was mad because I had the under assist, and I was like, what the hell? Like just pull like. Yeah, the Magic good. Like that was a funny one though, because Miles Bridges, I liked it. Might never bet his under again because this guy like he plays like 80 minutes a game. It's honestly crazy because like I was like sweating the under 3.5 assists. But like it's so funny like betting unders on him and Julius Randle. Like this is a little off topic. Like it's honestly ridiculous how many minutes some people play. Like Miles Bridges is like playing like 40 plus minutes a game. It's just crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like the Magic last 3 games? I'm looking right now. So the Magic have not lost by 11 plus, which is a spread in so let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 7 games. So last time they lost by over 10 was against the Bucks when they got blown out.
Yeah, so it's not bad, man.
In January they've kept it close. I mean, the only time they didn't. This is like I'm only just thinking this, but yeah, the Sixers game they lost by 10, and that was a 9.5, so they didn't cover that. But other than that, yeah, they've either won outright just once, but like they lost to the Celtics in overtime by 5. The Bulls was a 4-point game. Pistons have lost by 5. The Wizards have lost by 2. They beat the Hornets. They keep it close. So
that's what I'm thinking is like they're low key like decent, they're not great, and like you said, they're going to lose games, but they're not just total trash. So
so that's interesting. I don't take many spreads, but that one I might look into because
it's wide. So
and especially with like potential rest candidates for
Dallas.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, man, that's we put in a good time here, and I know you've got stuff going on today, and I got to go do some house shopping, which should be fun. But, dude, I really appreciate you jumping on again. The stuff you've got is amazing. Before we get out of here, why don't you just tell people, make sure they know how to find you, and just like talk about anything that you're doing.
Same thing. It's on the screen there. It's just on Twitter, Brian versus the Books. I don't really promote much, but yeah, you can just go right there.
Well, promote away, dude. Promote a little bit. I mean, geez.
I'm very just, if I get too famous, then I have to it'd be too much. Like, my mom said I had a face for radio, so I can't. I don't need my face out there too much. I don't want to scare people.
Well, dude, this is a podcast now too, so it kind of is like radio.
So yeah, but like my face is gonna start going out there, It's just let me see.
But
Okay, and by the way, Capella's doubtful.
okay.
Yeah, so
There you go.
that's what we were hoping for. All
There's
right.
that. Yeah. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on. I'll promote you a little bit. So make sure you follow Brian versus the Books on Twitter. Phenomenal stuff. Great follow. Also, he's working with props.cash now. He showed some of those graphs, but really amazing tool. I use it some. I just don't know how to use it as well as he does, which is why I try to keep following him. But make sure you go follow him and help get his stuff out there because he's doing a lot of great stuff. Also, with this stream, you can check this out on Twitter, YouTube, and also it is on Apple Podcasts and anywhere else you get podcasts now. The Breakdown is what it's called. So if you want to get kind of these daily breakdowns, sometimes with guests, sometimes just walking through the slate, make sure you follow that. And we will both see you on Twitter, I guess. Have a good day, everybody. I'll talk to you later, Brian.
All right, see ya.